Have you ever looked in the mirror and thought, wait, where did that little hair come from? Maybe it was on your chin, your upper lip, or even just below your ear where there was never anything before. You brush it off, pluck it, and move on. But a few days later, it's back, and now it's brought a friend. Sound familiar? If it does, let me tell you right away, you're not alone. Not even close. In fact, more women than ever are noticing these changes after 60. And no, you're not imagining things. What you're seeing is real. It's common. And most importantly, it's fixable. But here's the catch. A lot of us are accidentally making it worse without even knowing it. That's why today we're talking about something a little personal, but incredibly important. The 6 biggest mistakes that cause older women to grow more facial hair, and what you can do instead to turn things around. Now, I know this isn't an easy topic to bring up over coffee with a friend. Facial hair feels like one of those hush-hush issues nobody wants to admit they're dealing with. But I want to have the kind of honest conversation we wish someone had with us 10 years ago. So grab a cup of tea, get comfortable, and let's get into this together. Let me start by introducing you to Susan. Susan is 66, retired, and lives just outside Austin, Texas. She's active, eats what she considers a balanced diet, and takes care of her health. But lately, she's been frustrated by those fine dark hairs sneaking onto her upper lip and under her chin. She figured, well, I'm not eating sweets or drinking sodas, so it can't be sugar, and didn't think much of it. Until one afternoon at a routine checkup, her doctor raised an eyebrow at her blood sugar levels and asked a surprising question. How much hidden sugar are you eating? Susan blinked. Hidden sugar? She asked. The doctor handed her a list. Granola bars, flavored yogurt, pasta sauces, salad dressing. Even her morning healthy smoothie was loaded with fruit juice. Turns out, Susan was flooding her body with sugar in disguise. And when your body takes in too much sugar, especially later in life, it can throw your insulin levels into chaos. That imbalance doesn't just affect your waistline. It messes with your hormones too. When insulin spikes regularly, it can lower estrogen and give testosterone the upper hand. That's when facial hair starts making surprise appearances. Now, Susan didn't go on a crash diet or cut out everything she loved. She made a few small, thoughtful changes. She started reading food labels, swapped out her yogurt for plain Greek with a few fresh berries, made her own dressing with olive oil and lemon, and reduced fruit juice to an occasional treat. Within a few months, she noticed a difference, not just in the mirror, but in how she felt. Her skin calmed down, her digestion improved, and yes, those stubborn hairs showed up far less often. The lesson? Sugar is sneaky, and your hormones are listening, whether you realize it or not. Now let me tell you about Linda. Linda is 72 and lives in Florida. Her husband passed a few years ago, and though she has children and friends, she often finds herself lying awake at night, replaying old memories or worrying about the future. My body's tired, but my mind just won't shut off, she told me once. And it wasn't just the fatigue catching up with her. Linda had noticed more wiry, stubborn hairs on her face than ever before. She started to feel self-conscious, even covering her face with her hand during conversations. What Linda didn't know is that poor sleep and high stress aren't just bad for your mood, they're a hormonal wrecking ball. When we don't get enough restful sleep, especially as we get older, our cortisol levels stay elevated. And cortisol, the body's stress hormone, has a nasty habit of lowering estrogen and boosting testosterone. You can guess what happens next. Yep, facial hair. Linda decided to take control of her evenings. She began winding down with soft music and a soothing podcast. She turned off her phone an hour before bed and picked up a pen instead, writing a few lines in her journal each night. Not deep stuff, just simple thoughts. Her sleep improved. Her energy came back. And over the next few weeks, she started feeling more like herself. The hairs? They didn't disappear overnight, but they showed up less, and that made a big difference. The takeaway here is simple. Your body needs deep, healing rest. Not just sleep, but real, restful, quiet time. Your hormones crave balance, and they respond when you slow down, breathe deeply, and give yourself permission to rest. Now, picture Margaret. She's 70 and lives in a cozy little town in Ohio. Every Sunday morning, without fail, Margaret grabs her magnifying mirror and a pair of tweezers and goes to war with her chin hairs. "I can't help myself," she laughs. "I feel like a squirrel hunting acorns, one hair, then another, then another." She thought she was being proactive. But what Margaret didn't know is that constant plucking, especially from the same area, can actually make things worse. When you pluck repeatedly, you traumatize the hair follicle, and your body, clever as it is, goes into defense mode, sending more blood flow to the area, and sometimes causing the hair to grow back even thicker or darker. And shaving? Not a crime, but it needs to be done right. Many women use whatever razor is lying around in the bathroom drawer, sometimes even their husband's old one. But if that blade is dull, or if you're shaving dry or against the grain, it's a recipe for irritation, ingrown hairs, and red, bumpy skin. Margaret decided to try something new. She bought a gentle facial razor made for women and started prepping her skin with a light cleansing oil before shaving. She shaved with the grain and used a calming moisturizer afterward. The change was almost immediate. Her skin felt smoother, she wasn't getting bumps, and best of all, she could put down the mirror and enjoy her Sundays again. What works for Margaret might work for you too. The way you remove facial hair matters just as much as when and why. Your skin is wiser than you think. It responds to gentleness, consistency, and care. So, we've talked about hidden sugars, the deep power of sleep and stress relief, and how to treat your skin with kindness when removing hair. These aren't just beauty tips. They're signals from your body that something deeper might be going on, and ways you can respond with love, not shame. Let's keep going. Now, let me introduce you to Patricia. She's 64, lives in sunny California, and has always taken pride in her appearance. She used to work in fashion retail, so looking polished was second nature. One afternoon, strolling through her favorite department store, she passed by a shiny glass counter with a cream promising to defy age in 7 days. Well, that sounded like a good deal. So she bought it, $79 a jar, wrapped in gold foil and hope. At first, she loved how it smelled and how fancy it felt on her skin. But within a week, something wasn't right. Her face broke out like it hadn't since high school. Tiny bumps across her cheeks, itchy spots near her jawline, and somehow, more tiny dark hairs appearing along her upper lip. She was horrified. She almost blamed herself. Maybe she wasn't cleaning her face enough. Maybe her hormones were out of control. But when she brought the jar to her dermatologist, the doctor gently explained that many of these anti-aging creams, especially the high-end ones, are packed with ingredients that do more harm than good, particularly for mature, hormone-sensitive skin. Turns out, Patricia's miracle cream had parabens and phthalates, chemicals that can mess with your hormones. Some products mimic estrogen, others irritate the skin, and all of them can make facial hair worse over time, especially if you're already dealing with hormonal shifts. Patricia made a full switch. No more perfume-loaded products. No more mystery serums. She simplified everything. A mild cleanser, rosehip oil, a chamomile toner, and a gentle vitamin C serum. That's it. And her skin? It calmed down. She glowed, not just from the products, but from the confidence of finally treating her skin like a friend instead of a problem to be fixed. If there's one thing she said that stuck with me, it was this: I stopped chasing youth and started embracing care. That made all the difference. And speaking of hormonal shifts, it's time you met Carol. Carol is 68 and lives in New York, not far from her grandkids. She's sharp, witty, and always has a book in hand. But even someone as smart as Carol admitted she completely underestimated what would happen after menopause. When I hit 52, I figured the hot flashes would be the worst of it, she told me. Once they passed, I thought I was done. But no one warned me about the slow, sneaky changes afterward. She started noticing new little hairs popping up on her jawline, then under her chin. At first, she thought it was just her imagination. But over time, it became undeniable and frustrating. What Carol didn't know, and what most of us aren't told, is that estrogen levels continue to decline after menopause. Meanwhile, testosterone doesn't drop as fast. That shift, subtle as it may seem, gives testosterone the upper hand. And when testosterone dominates, facial hair tends to follow. It doesn't mean you're becoming less feminine or anything close to that. It just means your body is adjusting. The good news is, there are natural ways to help support that shift. Carol started small. She added flaxseed to her breakfast, began tracking how she felt after certain meals, introduced healthy fats like avocado and olive oil into her routine. She even asked her doctor about hormone-balancing herbs like maca root and evening primrose, which some women find helpful. She didn't overhaul her life. She just listened to her body more closely and gave it what it needed. The result? Fewer flare-ups, smoother skin, and best of all, a sense of control over something that once felt totally out of her hands. Carol taught me this. Your body isn't betraying you. It's just evolving. And if you evolve with it instead of against it, you'd be surprised how much smoother the journey can be. Now, I want to talk about something deeper. Something that cuts closer to the heart than hormones or razors or skin creams. I want to tell you about Dorothy. Dorothy is 74 and lives in Michigan. She's the kind of woman who lights up a room with her presence. But there was a time when she would dim her light to hide something she thought was shameful, her facial hair. She told me a story I'll never forget. One day, she was getting ready for a dinner date with someone she'd recently met. As she leaned in to check her makeup in the mirror, she spotted a coarse, dark hair right on her chin. Her heart sank. She panicked, reached for her tweezers, missed, tried again. Still there. In the end, she canceled the date. Said she wasn't feeling well. But the truth, she just couldn't stand the thought of being seen. And the hardest part wasn't the hair. It was the shame she carried around it. The idea that facial hair made her less of a woman or not beautiful or somehow wrong. Somewhere along the way, we were taught that beauty is quiet, smooth, flawless. That anything outside of that image should be hidden, removed, apologized for. But that's not just untrue, it's harmful. Because shame doesn't fix anything. It only keeps us from living fully. Dorothy eventually saw through the lie. She stopped seeing facial hair as something to be ashamed of and started seeing it as what it is, a natural response to age, hormones, and life. Nothing more. Nothing less. She didn't stop caring for her skin or give up on grooming, but she stopped treating it like a dirty secret. She started treating herself with the same compassion she would give her own daughter. And the difference was visible, not just in her skin, but in her spirit. She began dating again, smiling more, laughing with her whole face. Her words to me were simple. I didn't need a miracle serum. I just needed permission to stop feeling broken. If there's anything I want you to take from her story, it's this. You are not broken. Facial hair is not a flaw. It's not something to be ashamed of. And it definitely doesn't define your beauty or your worth. The truth is, when we stop fighting our bodies and start listening to them, when we shift from frustration to compassion, from shame to self-care, everything begins to change. It might start with one flaxseed smoothie, or a good night's sleep, or simply tossing out a product that isn't doing your skin any favors. But these small acts are not just habits. They are declarations. You're telling your body, I see you, I hear you, and I choose to care. And that's powerful. You know what struck me the most through all these stories, from Susan in Texas to Dorothy in Michigan, is that none of these women did anything wrong. They weren't being careless or lazy or vain. They were simply navigating the changes that come with aging, doing the best they could with what they knew. And when they learned more, they did better. That's what we're all trying to do. Aging doesn't come with a manual. There's no guidebook that tells you, hey, around 65, you might start to notice little hairs showing up in places they never were before. But just because no one warned us doesn't mean we can't respond with strength, grace, and curiosity. And that brings me to one final reminder, perhaps the most important of them all. Your beauty has never depended on being hair-free. Let that sink in for a moment. Because when we think of facial hair as something shameful, we rob ourselves of peace. But when we see it for what it is, just another small signpost on the road of life, we take our power back. Take a breath with me right now. That body you're in, it's been with you through everything. It carried your children or your dreams. It healed when you were sick. It kept moving when you were tired. It has laughed, cried, danced, and shown up for you day after day, year after year. That body is not a problem to fix. It's a story. And every wrinkle, every spot, every hair, even the ones on your chin, are part of it. Of course, it's perfectly okay to want to feel fresh, clean, and comfortable in your own skin. We're not saying let it all go. We're saying care for yourself not from a place of fear or shame, but from love. There's a world of difference between scrubbing something off because you hate it and gently tending to something because you value yourself. So what can you do, starting today? Maybe you swap out that harsh cream for something your skin actually likes. Maybe you toss the mirror with the 20x magnification. Maybe you say no thanks to sugary salad dressings and yes please to sleep, softness, and soothing routines. Or maybe you simply give yourself permission to stop hiding. And if a single dark chin hair shows up tomorrow morning, you smile, grab your gentle razor, take a breath, and move on with your day, knowing it doesn't define you. You're so much more than what's on your skin. You're a woman who has lived, loved, learned, and grown. You've raised families, supported friends, worked through loss, celebrated joy. You've stood in the middle of heartache and kept going. You've laughed at things that once made you cry. You've discovered your voice, and you've earned the right to take up space with confidence, however you choose to wear your face. So the next time someone tells you to fix your appearance, I hope you remember, you are not a problem. You are a presence. A full, beautiful, evolving presence. And if you're still wondering, yes, there are ways to reduce facial hair, and yes, some of them really do work. But none of them matter as much as how you feel in your skin. When that part is steady, everything else becomes easier. So here's what I'd love you to do. If anything in this video resonated with you, even just a line or a feeling, would you share it in the comments below? Tell us your story. Have you noticed facial hair showing up more lately? Have you found anything that helps? Or maybe you just needed someone to say, you're not alone. This is your space. And while you're here, go ahead and hit that like button. It helps more women like you find this video. Don't forget to subscribe to Strong Elderly Life for more helpful, honest, and uplifting content made just for you. We've got more videos coming to support your health, confidence, and happiness every step of the way. Most of all, thank you for spending your time here today. You didn't have to click on a video about facial hair, but you did. You chose curiosity over shame, knowledge over fear, care over criticism, And that, my friend, is how you grow, not just older, but wiser. Here's to you, to your journey, and to living your most vibrant life. One whisker, one smile, one day at a time. You've got this.